I think I'm going to go ahead and remove these plastic rungs here that are molded in and replace them with some strip styrene. So I kind of like the idea of being able to see in between here where these bevels are. Okay, I've taken my Dremel with the cutting disc and I've sliced at this angle of the louvers all along here and on the other side. So what I'll do now is I'll take my chisel blade for my X-Acto and I'll slowly remove these pieces. Then it'll wind up looking like this. Okay, I've got all of it removed from the canopy for the cockpit. So now it's going to be lots and lots of sanding to get it all nice and smooth. Work on the lights for the engines. This is how the clear piece that comes with the kit fits onto the back of the engine housing, and then it sets in here like this in these slots. I believe I want to do more than just the two lights that they give you. These two light holes that you can put your LEDs in. That's all they give you for this kit. I think I want to go at least 4 lights per engine. I've taken my variable speed Dremel. It's the one with the cord because it has more power than the cordless ones, and I've removed all this plastic inside here, inside these engine cavities, because I'm going to build a light box in order to put my engine lights in. I still have a little more to trim out here on some of these edges, but you can see when I set in these engine parts, you almost can't see what I have left to do, so I just have a little bit of trimming to do there. Yeah, I removed a section here to be able to put in my light box so it'll slide back because there's a curve here. So I lost these two pins to be able to hold the piece in place. So what I did was, before I removed the pin, I placed it on there and I drew an outline here with a Sharpie. So now when I get ready to close this up, I can get my piece in between the lines there and glue it down, and it'll be in the spot it's supposed to be in. It'll be good to go. Building my light box here. The bottom part has this half of the octagon, but the top part does not. So this I can glue here. I'll have to repeat this for the top part, but it'll have to be glued to some side pieces so it'll fit in there. And this is what I'm using. It's an evergreen product, but it's metal siding for trains. I finished the top and back for my light boxes for my LEDs. They slide in. Got some braces that I glued to the back here to keep them from moving. And there they are, the light boxes. I need to build some engine exhaust bells, so I'm going to take them from a Gundam kit. I have a couple of these kits that have several engine bells in each kit. I need 8 of them. So I'm going to pull them from here and put them together and show you what that looks like. I drilled holes all the way through the back, all the way through the engine bells. Glued all the engine bells together in these groups of 4. Now I need to paint the back of the light box black and paint the engine bells silver. Then I can glue the bells to the back of the light box, and then I'll be ready to mount the LEDs from behind. I've painted the back of the engine housing this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch flat black. There was a sale on it a year or so ago, so I bought a couple of boxes, so I have like 12 cans of this. I also painted the inside of the main body where the engine cavities go. Painted it flat black also. And I painted the engine bells with Model Air chrome. I did that with a flat brush. Quick test fit. I haven't glued the engine bells onto the back of the light box yet, but I wanted to show you what it's going to look like. Quick little test fit with my flickering LEDs in the engine bells. I think that's looking pretty good. It's definitely achieving what I wanted it to achieve. I've gone ahead and primed all the pieces to the Cylon. I don't normally use rattle can for priming my models, but this is such a large scale that the thickness of the primer will still be in scale with the kit. Smaller kits, I usually go ahead and use my airbrush to do all my priming. But for big kits, this stuff works really good. It's sandable and it adheres to the plastic really well. Now comes the actual wiring. I can glue in my lights, set up my battery and my on-off switch, and connect my fiber optics. Here's a light test for the headlights in the faceplate that goes below the cockpit canopy on the Cylon. Now I just need to 5-minute epoxy them to the back of that plate here so they're secure. And I've got my epoxy mixed up. Then with this flat toothpick, I just slowly dab it all on. I do put it on generously because it's better to have too much than to have too little in it. It pulls out the LED. I'm going to mix up some more epoxy and put some more on there. Once it's dry, I'll cover the back of the LED with tulip to create a light block so that no light will escape from the back. It'll all push forward. Now the epoxy is dry, I can apply the tulip to the back of the LED to block the light. This is a silkscreen product. It's very, very thick and light will not get through it if you get it thick enough. So I'll apply it just with a toothpick. I'll squirt it on and then I'll smear it all around underneath and everything to make sure I get it all the way around. I've applied the tulip to the back of the LEDs. so there's not any light coming from behind. It's all pushing forward into the headlights, and that's what you want. Got my LEDs all glued in with 5-minute epoxy. I put shrink wrap around each one at the base of the LED and separated my positive wires and my negative wires, and then shrink wrapped those. I built a box for my battery, 9-volt battery holder. I also cut a square out of the bottom of the main body, and I've inserted magnets so this bottom plate will snap on, so I'll have access to the battery. I also put a 1x1 wood piece in here to be able to mount it on the base. I'll show you the base later. This is the underside of the Cylon. You can see here I've installed my push button on-off switch, which will get painted. It won't be red. This is my mount for the base, which is a Polar Lights large dome base. I got these off of eBay. They have a smaller one also that I use for smaller kits occasionally. And my battery cover. Here's the box I built out of black ABS. I've installed 4 magnets on both sides, so it sets in here and snaps closed, and it's very secure. I've installed a micro push button on-off switch. Down here in the base. And I just have one side connected right now of the lights. On, off. I've drilled a hole in the tip of my LED, then I encased it with some tube styrene so that I can light block it once the fiber optics are glued in. I've also glued the wires to the bottom of this plate here with some 5-minute epoxy. Once that's dry, I'll flip this plate over and place it in here so my light will be on the bottom. I've run tube styrene with my fiber optics in it, and then once this plate is in place, I'll be able to curve my fiber optics into my light and glue that in place. I've got my fiber optics into my LED. I took several pieces of tube styrene and fit them inside each other and got smaller and smaller until I got to the smallest one that both of these 1mm fiber optics would fit into. Then I coated it with 5-minute epoxy. Now I'm letting that dry. Once that dries, I can coat the fiber optics and everything with some black paint so it'll help light block. I finished the wiring for the engines. This is the battery box. The wires come through here, go down underneath this plate, carry up to my power switch, my on-off power switch, then to the LED for the front laser cannons. Then the wires come back up through this plate, and I crisscross them so that it would be easier and more uniform to connect the leads from the LEDs of the engines. I built a couple of braces on either side to hold them in place, a little more secure. Makes it kind of look like a 16-cylinder engine with the spark plug wires. None of these wires touch each other individually. They all just connect to the power and the negative and then these run up to the front where I will connect them to the headlights in the front. So let me show you the engines. Here you can see the engines are firing perfectly. This is going to do it for part 2. Part 3 is going to be about the painting. So I need to put everything together, the top, all the pieces to the top, take care of whatever seams and stuff are left, and then we'll start painting. So thank you for watching, and thank you for subbing, and again we'll see you for part 3.